Right, hi. Okay, now I've grouped you today because yesterday in our AFL, I realised that you have a pretty good idea about planning your explanation text. Now, hopefully you watched the video last night and you have a pretty good idea about what I expect at the end of the lesson. Now, I'd like for you today to really extend your plan and really make it a high level and high quality piece of work. And I'm going to show you a few little extra tips that you might want to include in your plan. Okay? And to show you, I've got some, on the next slide here, I've got some new sentence openers that could be used in an explanation text. So let's have a little read of some of them. We've got, it is believed that, it was first thought that, experts agree that, it is claimed that, after much consideration, having witnessed, that's almost like saying haven't seen, and experts have explained. Okay, on the next slide you're about to see, I've created a plan for just one paragraph, okay? And it follows very, very similar to what you saw yesterday. So let's have a quick look. Okay, here we go. Now, just as a little bit of a recap, remember the blue circle is the paragraph. And the subheading is going to be early submarines. So we did a little bit of research on what early submarines were like. But also we did a comprehension as well. So let's make a connection. Let's be a spider. Make a connection between the knowledge and the work that we've carried out so far. We know a little bit about early submarines. We know that early submarines had a snorkel. We know that because they didn't have any machines below, they couldn't really go very deep because a snorkel just pops its end out and it allows air to go in it. So it doesn't actually go very deep. And designers obviously realized this problem. So they came up with the design for a machine that would be able to regulate the oxygen and the carbon dioxide. So let's have a look at this plan here then. So the first sentence I'm going to use is this one here, which is all about subs having a snorkel. And just remember, we can't use words like subs, it has to be submarines. So I might start with a phrase such as, let's see if we can pick a good phrase to use. We could use the word it is believed. So I could begin my sentence with, it is believed that the early submarines only had snorkels in which to take air inside the submarine. So that's going to be my first sentence. Then I was thinking for my next sentence, we could use the phrase experts agree. So we could say that experts agree that these early submarines couldn't really go very far below the water surface. They could stay there for a long time, but they couldn't actually go very, very deep. So I could have a little sentence about that. And then the final sentence, or the final two or even three sentences, might talk about the designing of the machine that actually could regulate carbon dioxide and oxygen so that the submarine could go under the water for a long time and stay there. Okay, so that was one of the things that I was thinking about. Now, let's say we want to really, really extend our writing. And what we're going to do is we're going to make a link between the paragraph about early submarines and the one I'm about to write. Okay, so I was thinking we could have a paragraph. I'm just going to do it up here. we could have a paragraph all about comfort on board a submarine. Because modern day submarines, if they're going to stay below the water, below the waves for a long time, the crew need to feel comfortable. So let's have a subheading. Let's have our subheading comfort on board. Okay, so there's my subheading. Brilliant. I'm going to underline it just so I don't forget. Do you know what? I'm going to underline it. Lovely. Now, there are all sorts of things that I could write about on my plan. I could write about, let's have a look. I could write about maybe areas inside the submarine that are devoted to bedrooms. And they may have bunk beds. Maybe there's an area for a kitchen and cooking, which the early submarines probably didn't have. So there's a lot I can talk about there. Just remember not to forget the connectives. Connectives are a big deal in the class at the moment. That's a lot of targets for a lot of people. So let's say that I've done my plan there, but I want to make a link between the paragraph before. So a clever little thing that I learned is when we're making the connection across to link our thoughts together. So let me just make this a little bit thicker so you can see it. There we go. Oh, let's make it a little bit thicker. So we know that early submarines connect to comfort on board. However, when I'm writing my paragraph, and this is a teaching point, so listen really carefully. When I'm writing my paragraph about comfort on board, I'm going to make a reference back to what I spoke about earlier in my paragraph on early submarines. Okay, and what does that mean? Well, the one thing the designers did is they came up with a machine that could regulate the oxygen and the carbon dioxide. So we could mention that machine again. But this time we could say that the machine doesn't just regulate oxygen and carbon dioxide, but it also, in modern day submarines, it can also regulate temperature as well. What I'm trying to say to you guys is the link between the two paragraphs there is the machine. The machine that regulates carbon dioxide and oxygen. And in the comfort paragraph, you make a reference, you just mention that machine again, but you say that in modern day submarines, they actually regulate the temperature as well. Okay, so actually guys, I'm after a little bit more of a detailed plan. I don't expect links to all of the paragraphs, but if you can do a link to either one or two paragraphs in your whole entire writing, then I'll be an extremely happy teacher. Okay, so I want you to use the rest of the lesson to make your detailed plan. Remember, you're writing about how a submarine works. Okay, best of luck, and I'll be around later on to see how you're getting on.